Okay. Do some of you in this audience know what this picture is about? Anyone has seen this before? This is a picture of Fifth Avenue, New York, on a spring morning in 1900. The year is 1900. You can see, it's not very easy to see this, but you can see that the entire street is filled with horse-drawn carriages, and there's one little car out there. This is 1900. Exactly 13 years later, this is the same place, same morning, Easter morning, Fifth Avenue, New York. You can see that there are only automobiles here, and there's probably one horse-drawn carriage somewhere in the picture. It's not easy to see. So the world can change very, very fast. In 13 short years, it changed completely. And anybody who's is in the business of horses had already lost it by then. Okay? How many of you watched the GPT-5 live stream last night? Okay. Few of you. Some of you caught up with it in the morning? Any of you? Okay. A couple. Okay. A lot is going on in this space, and some of us are getting this sort of advice these days, right? But unfortunately, oh, great. Excellent. All right. Okay. So just the last 1 week, just the last 3 days, 2 momentous launches have happened. GPT-5 by OpenAI, and Google DeepMind released Genie 3, which is a new frontier world model. Right? Now, this, for some of you who haven't seen the live stream from last night, this happened. Tell me this dashboard, this is a finance dashboard for a CFO. Guess how many minutes or how many hours or days or weeks it took for someone to code this? Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 1 paragraph prompt with the data, linked to the data, and this was demoed live by the OpenAI people yesterday. 5 minutes. Okay, it's fully interactive with all the kinds of functionalities that you expect. From 1 paragraph to the full code and execution in just 5 minutes. Just think about how it compresses everything that we know takes time. This would be potentially a 2-week job, right? Something that you would promise a client 2 weeks to deliver, or internally take 2 weeks to deliver, to button it up. What if it can be done in 5 minutes? We know that the usage of AI is exploding. 700 million users, weekly active users of ChatGPT. 700 million weekly active users of ChatGPT. Google disclosed that they're doing 1.5 billion AI overviews every month. In June, Microsoft announced that they are processing something like 50 trillion tokens per month. 50 trillion tokens per month. And I was pretty impressed with that number. And a week later, Google came and said that they are processing 500 trillion tokens a month. 10x of that. And just last week, Google updated that number from 500, they went to 980 trillion tokens a month. So this is catching and growing at a pace that is absolutely unprecedented. And many of us underrepresent the usage of AI in our work. Because we want to look smart, we don't want to tell everyone that we've used AI to write this, or write this poem, or write this code, so we underrepresent. So the actual usage could be much higher than this. 1 in 4 lines of code is now written by AI at Google. How many of you have used AI to write code in the last 1 year? Okay, a lot of you have, maybe half of you, or a third of you. But I expect that every single one of you will have to write AI, code with AI, because honestly, it is simply dumb to not do that anymore. If you can, yesterday, GPT-5 showed that by giving a simple prompt, it will write something like 300 to 400 lines of code, find all the bugs, fix all the bugs, and write execution level ready, production level ready code within 5 minutes. So absolutely doesn't make sense for anyone to write code without it. Analysts, equity research analysts across the world have expected that there should be at least a 25% productivity improvement in writing code inside big companies like some of the companies represented in this room. And this is even including the fact that not all your time is spent on writing code, right? For half of your time maybe spent on writing code, some in collaboration activities, some other activities. Including all of that, there should still be a 25% improvement in productivity. The recent Y Combinator cohort, 1 in 4 companies say that 95% of their code is written with AI assistance. So it's really, that's the way it is going. Vibe coding is absolutely the most popular phrase of 2025 so far. Replit, think about a company called Replit. They took 10 years to get to 10 million in scale. 10 years to get to 10 million in revenue. And in the last 1 year, they've gone from 10 million to 100 million. Till a month ago or 2 months ago, I was saying that Cursor is the fastest growing SaaS company in the history of business, right? 100 million, 0 to 100 million in 18 months. Sorry, I was wrong. Now the company is lovable because they went from 0 to 100 million in 8 months. 8 months. So anyone sitting in this room, if you decide to start something, you can go from 0 to 100 in 8 months or even shorter. It's possible. A one-person company can become a unicorn. We've been talking about that. It is becoming more and more real every day. So what happens to the world of software? Does it dramatically shrink or dramatically expand? At least some people believe that there is a 1000x need for software. So yes, there will be, while the amount of time it takes to write software will dramatically be crunched, I think our needs will expand even more disproportionately. So therefore, all of us here in this room may still have a job to do, right? At least if you believe Sam Altman. Okay, let's for a few minutes think about the evolution of intelligence. What has happened? Because behind the scenes, what has happened? Because for some of us in this room who have not been paying attention, we feel like, okay, ChatGPT was launched in 2022, and it's been getting better, incrementally getting better, maybe faster than we expected, but it's getting better, that's it, nothing more, that's it. But underneath or below the hood, there's something deeper that's happening, and I want to unpack that with you. Number one, if 2023 was like a high school kid, it was a world of pre-training. And yesterday I was surprised to see Sam Altman using exactly the same phraseology in his live stream. It was like a high school kid who's read every single book in the world, really smart, can spit out answers without thinking, and sometimes makes errors, right? So content generation, content summarization was really the big thing in 2023. It was all pre-trained models, self-supervised learning, predicting the next token, all that good stuff that you're aware of. Okay, that's 2023. 2024 was the time we entered reasoning and planning. So reasoning became a big deal, and we started to get people AI, which was like a university graduate. Here, you could get deeper into math, deeper into a domain, deeper into writing code, things like that. That's 2024, 2025. And that's when you started seeing Cursor taking root and becoming really big. And 2025, 2026 is about being a working professional. Okay, Sam Altman called it a PhD level person. I'm calling it a working professional. The idea is, can AI be really useful in the real world? Can be a co-worker and can navigate the world of software, can navigate the physical world, get stuff done, like all working professionals do. So that is a big evolution. We've moved from pre-training to post-training and inference time compute to agentic AI, which leverages all of the above. Right? That is the evolution. So while it seems like ChatGPT is getting better, underneath a lot is changing, because of which this is becoming so much better. And that's why we should be so excited and nervous about what's coming next. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit better and more detail. Knowledge retrieval was the era of 2023. Here you'd see use cases like this. For example, when we worked with a big insurance company in UK, we could create an agent assist solution where an agent would get really good answers, like an agent, like people on this picture here. Imagine they're answering customer questions on, let's say, when your car broke down and you're trying to find out what's the level of insurance you can expect, will you have roadside assistance, things like that. And an agent is answering those questions in real time, and he or she has to consult all the documentation in providing you right answers. And let's say it's 10% error rate, lots of time taken, long hold times. And we could build an agent assist solution to dramatically reduce the time it takes, Error rates dropped from 10% to 2%, and supervisor escalations went down. So that happened in 2023, right? That was the era where you could get knowledge assist. There are lots of knowledge assist solutions in big companies now, which all leverage these kinds of AI models. That's 2023. And that's when we started to realize that most of the value in AI is going to be in cognitive and repetitive areas, right? Things that involve a lot of brain power as well as that are repetitive in nature. Think of an industry like financial services. Almost everything in financial services is cognitive and repetitive. Think of writing code, cognitive, repetitive. Insurance industry, cognitive, repetitive. And there are a number of industries like that, and they're all getting disrupted faster than the other industries. Now, that was 2023. 2024, thinking and reasoning. To illustrate that, let me tell you a little bit about how, the work of Daniel Kahneman. Daniel Kahneman came up with the system, the thinking that there are two kinds of thinking systems in a human brain, system 1 and system 2. System 1 is a fast, unconscious, automatic decision making. Think of driving a car. Once you learned how to drive a car, it's very automatic. You can listen to audiobooks and talk to people while driving a car. That's system 1 thinking. You don't have to think to do stuff, right? Say 2 plus 2, you'll say 4 without actually making the computation. 7 into 8, you say 56 without making the computation. System 2 is a more deliberate, slower thinking process. For example, if I said x squared minus 7x plus 12 equal to 0, you would not be able to immediately spit out x equal to 3 and 4 as answers. You may use the quadratic formula, or you might factorize it or things like that to get the answer. Slower, more deliberate, effortful, and potentially more right. So from 2023 to 2024, we moved from the system 1 thinking on AI to system 2 thinking of AI, which is post-training, inference time compute, and things like that. So this is the system 1 versus system 2. System 2 is a lot of world knowledge, massive training data. It can spit out answers without thinking. And system 2 is much more step-by-step thinking. You can reflect on your own thinking. You can deliberate, and you can bug fix yourself and self-correct and give you more accurate answers. Okay, that's the paradigm moved from training time compute, where you put a lot of data and train once and then use it all the time, to inference time compute and post-training, right? You train it post the pre-training. You do it in such a way that it can think, it can reflect, and there is a lot of inference time compute involved in answering, which takes it to the next level. So that's the move from 2023 to 2024. Think about a question like this. Think about a disease. This happens very often. You go to a doctor. Let's say there's a relatively rare disease. 1% of the population has the disease, and there's a very good test, 99% accurate in figuring out that you have the disease and giving you a positive when you have the disease. But it's also 5% type 2 error, where even if you don't have the disease, it gives you a result of positive. So let's say you took the test and the result was positive. What's the likelihood that you have the disease? This kind of stuff happens all the time in medical reasoning, right? And doctors are really bad at it. I have personal experiences, don't have time to share with, but there are personal experiences I can share with which are like this. So the answer here, anyone wants to take a guess what the answer is to this question? Okay, the answer is 17%. And it's sort of, you need to use the Bayes theorem, etc. But now, if you ask an AI model exactly this question, and we did that. This is the Fathom R114B, the model that Fractal launched to the open source world in June. It has been very popular, I think more than 50,000 downloads. You ask this question of that, it answers like this. It's giving you a peek into its thinking. It's saying how it is actually doing the calculation. It understands that I have to apply the Bayes theorem. It knows the Bayes theorem. It applies the Bayes theorem. It figures out and gives you an answer. But it doesn't stop there. It says, OK, let me find the answer from a different way. Let's say 100,000 people take the test, and 1% of them have the disease. And it does the frequentist way of answering the question as well, and then triangulates the two, and then gives you the final answer in a very clean and neat way. So this kind of post-trained inference time computing is really the feature of the reasoning models at play right now. Okay, okay, let's move to the next slide. This happened a couple of months ago, where Airbnb started a code migration project. It was a very complex project. They imagined that it should take 18 months to do this project. And it turned out that it took them only 6 weeks, because they started to use AI to write that code. From 18 months, they crunched it down to 6 weeks. And this is as per their blog post, right? So just imagine if this can happen to everything that we do. What happens to the world? What happens to all of us who write code for a living? Okay, and then the third step from reasoning, we went to planning and acting, which is the agentic AI kind of thing that you've heard of. Take a very big problem, break it down to smaller problems, and execute each of these problems, navigate the world of software or internet or the real world and solve those problems. And that's the third step, planning and acting. This is where a lot of action is now taking place. And GPT-5 has a lot of agentic capabilities natively built into it. So what is the difference between an assistant and agent? Assistant is someone who can say, wake me up at 7 a.m. Siri and play my favorite music. Assistant. Agent is much more complex. You're saying, hey, wake me up so that I have enough sleep. I get to office by time, on time by 9 a.m. and subject to traffic, Bangalore traffic, and so on. And it will make some decisions in real time. It has some autonomous nature to it. It's a more complex thing. It makes its own decisions, and then it helps you achieve your goals. So it will break down a goal and break it down to parts and make decisions and help you accomplish your goals. That's the agentic world that we're talking about. Say, for example, this is a sales assist that we built for one of the largest asset managers in the world. On the right, you can say fund, you're preparing for a call with a advisor. You're saying, okay, let me explore various fund offerings. Let me create lists, integrate with my calendar, schedule meetings for me, and then help me, understand the advisor in such a way that I have a very good meeting with them. So these kinds of things, the sales assist does all of this in an agentic way, as an example. So it will take an advisor and give you all the information that you want about this in real time, right? So this is the kind of thing that you're seeing now in agentic platforms like Cogentic here. Another great example of that is what's happening in self-driving. Self-driving has been in the realm of science fiction for a long time and almost there for the last 10, 15 years. But in the last 2 years, it's become pretty real because now more than 10 million trips have taken place. Waymo has done more than 10 million autonomous trips, 50 million miles driven, with 73% reduction in accidents and no deaths so far. This is navigating the physical world and making a ton of decisions in real time. Take an example of this. This, you can see on the top, you see the LiDAR view of the camera of Waymo, and bottom you see the video view of that. And that pedestrian you can see on the screen, she's going to do something unexpected, and let's see how the car responds, okay? So the car is now coming, it's almost there, and she just trips over, and see how the car has made this very real-time decision in order to avoid this collision. It is looking at all the sensor information that it has. It knows what the pedestrian is probably going to do next, and therefore, it takes the safest path out in a way that everybody is safe, right? So this is the kind of decision-making that you expect AI to make in the real world and in the world of software and the internet. Right? So that's the expectation. Now, this is very, very big stuff, right? It is evolving at a very fast pace. Next year is going to be all about physical AI, better agents, and so on. So in that world, how do we navigate this? And this is some spitballing, some speculation, because no one really has the final answer here. First thing I'll tell you is that AI is going to disrupt AI and tech before it disrupts anything else. Think about a company that makes chocolate, right? At the end of the day, they will continue to make chocolate, right? And AI might improve the production process, improve the quality, or improve the sales processes, commercial processes. But fundamentally, a chocolate making company is going to make chocolate. AI is not going to make chocolate for you anytime soon. But AI can build AI. AI can build code. AI can disrupt AI. So AI will first disrupt the industries all of us are representing or because we write code for a living. Right? This is going to happen. So of all the disruptions, the disruption to tech and AI is the biggest and the fastest. And many people have speculated on what that might look like. And from advice like train to be a plumber, I don't think the world needs 6 million plumbers. 6 million people write code for a living in India. I don't think it will work. But there are many people speculating on various things. I'm sure all of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, will be wrong in their expectations because it's evolving at a faster pace. For example, AI won't take your job. Someone using AI will. Yes, it's true. But you saw the horse example in the beginning, right? You don't know what will happen exactly. So these are my thoughts following from here on. And you can take it with a grain of salt. OK, this is what Paul Graham said yesterday. That he met a founder who's writing 10,000 lines of code a day using AI. Right? This is what's happening. Right? So the first thing I will say is, please embrace the AI tools out there. It's no longer a good race to fight against the AI. It's not possible. There's no chance of winning. It's like you're trying to run against an automobile. The automobile will be faster. There's no chance of beating it. So might as well get into the automobile and drive it rather than running against the automobile. So that's the first thing I would say is, please embrace the AI tools. Second, that the skills that we all brought in for the last 50 years are not the skills that we need in the next 50 years. Firstly, we have to learn AI models. We need to learn things like cybersecurity. These are technical skills that you might find useful. Some cognitive skills like critical thinking. AI will produce a lot of stuff. There will be hallucination, massive hallucinations in that. Yes, hallucinations are coming down. But for the foreseeable future, we will have to employ our critical thinking to figure out what is right and what is wrong. And this is something that we cannot outsource to a machine as of today. Strategic planning, things like that, right? The more strategic it gets, the more likely that still there will be a human element involved in it. And most importantly, leadership. Learning to learn. How can you pick up a new topic and become an expert? Mental health. These are the kinds of things, adaptability, teamwork. These are areas which are still in the realm of humans, and we might want to become better at it rather than just be better at writing code. Next point is about using foundation models, right? Some of you might be resisting, and many companies are resisting, right? How many companies in this room do not allow you to use AI to write code and create technical limitations for you to write code with AI? How many people in this room? Not many. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's interesting. But because I have seen a lot of organizations restricting the use of AI inside because of fear of privacy, security, compliance, and things like that. And that has to go away. And you have to start using these foundation models in everything that you do, right? In so learn how to use these models across the model ecosystem. Millions of models out there. So how do you use Hugging Face today? Knowing which model to use for what purpose, where does it work better? This is still an important task that we all have to perform. But using these models, no point in trying to replicate or hand code the intelligence in any software. I think it's better to use these foundation models and get them to work. Another one is, how can you imagine think of what Satya said about SaaS companies a couple of months ago, that SaaS is just a layer of business rule abstraction on top of a database, and therefore all SaaS companies are under threat. So think of every single click. It could be a prompt, right? Just about how can you reimagine every piece of software in such a way that every single click is a prompt? And that is possible. So I think there is a massive opportunity to reimagine every product, every SaaS product into an AI-driven SaaS product. Most importantly, for the people in this room, build something, release something. And this is something that I urge Fractalites to do all the time as well, that we all learn a lot, we read up a lot, but it doesn't mean that we build and release stuff every day. And it's not just about what you do in your professional life, but even in personal life. Just build something and release. I think it's possible that it'll catch some wind, and at the worst, what will happen is you will learn a lot in the process. So for especially the younger folks here, it's very, very important that you just don't learn and get knowledge, but you actually try to build something and release something. It's probably what Elon Musk was referring to when he said, I don't want researchers, I want engineers, because I think his point was that, what about building and releasing? There is a lot that can be accomplished when you build and release. Okay, now where do you begin? The first thing is to start with the fundamentals. While AI is progressing at a breakneck pace and it feels like it's pointless to now get into AI and understand it and just let's use foundation models, I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on the underlying math, the probability and linear algebra and all of the other stuff involved in AI. I think it's because the ones who know that are the ones who will take this to the next level. So if you have the ability to go back, learn from the fundamentals. I don't know if you remember that movie called Wall Street, 1990s movie called Wall Street, where Michael Douglas, after the whole thing, he becomes a fantastic trader, gets arrested, in jail, and then he comes out and he starts his life again by going to the first training session on how to be a banker, how to be a finance professional. In some ways, we need to have that beginner mindset of going back all the way to the beginning. Yes, it would have been nice to have started this when you were 20, but it's okay. This is the second best time to start is now, right? That's essentially the idea of starting with the fundamentals. And you can use AI now to learn any topic. It is becoming really the default way in which we will all learn is to pick up a topic and get really curious with AI. It's this kind of a tool. Yes, we had Google back when we were growing up. Some of you were growing up. We had Google. But for this generation, it is about learning with AI, learning about anything with AI. So please use AI to go deeper and learn faster. Then, most important, this is one thing that I, again, advise a lot of Fractal people to do as well, is to read papers. There's a lot getting published every day. And many of them come with how they've implemented. They've also give you some of the data sets. And if you can read these technical papers, understand them, and implement them, and get and replicate those results, I think it's game-changing. Because you will learn a lot in the process, and then you can build something on top of whatever these researchers have done. So reading papers and implementing them with your own code, I think is going to be very, very crucial. And I think becoming a serial expert, this is my favorite topic, that the rate of change of knowledge is very high. Right? Everything is getting obsolete in 3 years or more, or 3 years or less. So in that world, I think we all need to have the ability to become a serial expert. I mean, borrowing from the word serial entrepreneur, not serial killer, as somebody was telling me the other day. So like a serial entrepreneur does something and then learns a new industry and then builds a company, sells a company, and so on. In similar way, as a serial expert, you want to be able to pick up a new topic and become an expert much faster than anybody else. Not the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell will tell you, but maybe in 1,000 hours, if you can become an expert on that topic and become productive and actually earn because of that. And then when that topic becomes obsolete, move to the next topic and become an expert on that. Because all of us will have 30 to 40-year career spans, and we might have to do this 4 or 5 times at least, if not more, in the next 30 to 40 years. So becoming a serial expert, I think, is a very crucial skill to learn. And you have to build your own career. I keep telling everyone that you are the CEO of your career. So think of the pie-shaped career, which is breadth followed by 2 areas of depth. Right? That's really the idea of a pie-shaped career. Earlier, it used to be called the T-shaped career. Now, I think you need something like a pie-shaped career. For example, AI and engineering. Understanding deeply about AI and engineering to become a solid AI engineer, still having the breadth of being able to communicate with the world. That could be the kind of career track which will be much more resilient in this age of AI. Just to summarize, embrace AI, learn, relearn, and use AI to build, reimagine, and release. Right? Thank you.